Her father, Papa Obi, held her tiny body in his strong arms, tears rolling down his cheeks. She was beautiful, with skin as soft as fresh cotton and a cry that sounded like a song. A baby girl was born, her name was Amara. In the quiet village of Umueka. But not all cries bring joy. Amara's mother, Mama Ijeoma, was very sick after giving birth. She held her baby close and whispered, "My little Amara, you will grow to be strong. You will bring light where there is darkness. Never let hate live in your heart." And with those words, Mama Ijeoma closed her eyes and never opened them again. The village mourned. Women cried loudly, throwing dust into the air. Men bowed their heads in silence. Papa Obi buried his beloved wife under the big mango tree behind their little house. Every evening, he would sit there, singing lullabies to Amara, hoping his voice could fill the emptiness Mama Ijeoma left behind. But Papa Obi was only one man. He had a farm to tend and a baby to raise. His hands were strong, but his heart was weak with grief. As Amara grew from a tiny baby into a playful toddler, Papa Obi knew he needed help. "Amara needs a mother," the elder said. "You need a wife," his friend said. And so, with a heavy heart and many doubts, Papa Obi married again. Her name was Mama Simi. At first, she wore a sweet smile. She cooked hot meals and sang loud songs, letting the neighbors see how well she treated little Amara. To the villagers, it seemed Papa Obi had found happiness again. To Papa Obi himself, it seemed he had made the right choice. And to little Amara, who was only 3 years old, it seemed that life was whole again. But not all that glitters is gold. At first, everything seemed good. Mama Simi would tie a colorful scarf around Amara's head and walk proudly through the village market. "See my daughter, Amara. So beautiful," she would say loudly. The neighbors would nod and smile. "What a good woman Papa Obi has married," they whispered. But behind closed doors, Mama Simi's face changed. When no one was watching, her voice became sharp like a knife. "Sit there and don't move," she would snap at Amara. "Why are you eating like a goat? Don't you have manners?" Amara, confused and small, would sit quietly, her big brown eyes full of tears she would not dare let fall. She did not understand. Why was Mama Simi's voice so sweet outside but so bitter at home? Soon, Mama Simi's own children came to live with them. There were 3 of them. Simi, the eldest daughter, who was kind and gentle like morning rain. Lola, the second daughter, whose smile was wide but whose heart was small. Tolu, the youngest son, whose laughter was loud but whose hands were quick to push and pinch when no one was looking. Simi loved Amara truly. She would sneak her extra food when Mama Simi wasn't looking. She would braid Amara's hair and tell her stories at night. But Lola and Tolu were different. They only smiled at Amara when Papa Obi or Mama Simi was around. When the adults left the room, their faces turned cold. "Why are you here anyway?" Lola would whisper, her voice like a snake. "You are not really part of this family," Tolu would add, sticking out his tongue. Sometimes, they would hide Amara's shoes or tear her books. When Amara cried and ran to tell Mama Simi, she would laugh and say, "Oh, stop lying. Lola and Tolu love you like their own sister." Papa Obi would come home tired from the farm. Sometimes he would see the sadness in Amara's eyes. Sometimes he would hear the sharp tone in Mama Simi's voice. But when he tried to speak, Mama Simi would fold her arms and say, "Are you accusing me, after all I do for this child?" And Papa Obi, tired and worn, would sigh and stay silent. Amara learned to hide her feelings. She learned to smile even when it hurt. She learned to be small, so small that maybe no one would notice her pain. But the heart of a child is strong, stronger than many think. And inside Amara, a small flame was growing, a flame that one day would light the whole village. But that day was still far away. For now, Amara lived in the shadows of a home where love was a mask and kindness was a show. As the years rolled by like the slow river outside Umueka, Amara grew. She grew taller. She grew quieter. She grew wiser. Mama Simi's love stayed the same, sweet like honey on the outside, but bitter as bitter leaf inside the house. At every village festival, Mama Simi dressed Amora in fine clothes. She tied bright headscarves on her, rubbed her skin with sweet-scented oils, and held her hand proudly. "See my daughter," she would boast. "God blessed me with her." Neighbors clapped and praised her. "You are a good woman," they said. "You love all your children the same." But when the drum stopped and the neighbors left, Mama Simi's face dropped. "You think you are special," she would hiss. "You are nothing without me." At home, Amora washed the clothes. She cooked the food. She swept the floors till her hands ached. Meanwhile, Lola and Tolu played outside, laughing loudly, free as birds. Papa Obi noticed. Sometimes, he sat on the old wooden bench, staring at Amora as she struggled with heavy water pots. His heart squeezed with sadness. He remembered Mama Ijoma's dying words. "Protect her. Love her. Let her shine." But Papa Obi was tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of being shouted at by Mama Simi. Tired of feeling like a stranger in his own home. And so, he said nothing. But Simi, sweet Simi, saw everything. She saw the silent tears Amora wiped away with the back of her hand. She saw the bruises on Amora's heart even though there were no marks on her skin. One night, as the crickets sang and the moon smiled softly over Omoaka, Simi crept into Amora's small room. Amora sat on her mat, sewing her torn dress quietly. Simi knelt beside her and whispered, "One day, you will leave this place. One day, the whole world will know your name. Don't let them break you, Amora. Promise me." Amora looked into Simi's kind eyes. The words caught in her throat like fish caught in a net. She nodded. She promised. And though Amora was still a little girl, and her world was still small, something inside her grew that night. Hope. As seasons changed and the mango trees blossomed again and again, Amora grew not just in size, but in spirit. She worked harder than anyone else. Before the cock crowed in the morning, Amora was already up, sweeping the compound, fetching water from the far stream, and lighting the fire for breakfast. Mama Simi's own children, Lola and Tolu, slept in, laughing under their covers. When neighbors passed by and saw Amora sweeping while the others played, they frowned. "Why is Amora always the one walking?" they whispered to one another. "Is she not a child too?" But Mama Simi always had sweet words ready. "Or, Amora is just hardworking," she would say with a wide smile. "I treat all my children the same, but Amora loves to help." And the neighbors, not wanting to cause trouble, would nod and walk away. Only the wise old women, like Mama Nkechi who sold oranges by the road, would shake their heads sadly. They knew the truth. Old eyes could see through new lies. At school, Amora was different too. While Lola and Tolu played during lessons and giggled at the back of the class, Amora sat straight and listened to every word the teacher said. Her notebooks were neat. Her handwriting was clean like water. Her answers were sharp like a knife. Soon, her teacher started noticing. "Well done, Amora," they said, smiling brightly at her. "You are very smart. Keep it up." Amora's heart swelled with quiet pride. She held on to every kind word like a treasure. But at home, things were different. When Amora came back with certificates and prizes from school, Mama Simi barely looked at them. She would say, shrugging. "Did you sweep the backyard yet?" Lola and Tolu sneered behind Amora's back. "You think you are better than us because you know book," Lola would mutter. "You are still the house girl," Tolu would add, laughing cruelly. Amora said nothing. She just folded her certificates carefully and hid them under her thin mattress, where no one could tear them. But life has a way of rewarding the patient. The more they tried to hide Amora's light, the more brightly she shone. In the village church, she was chosen to lead songs. In the market, sellers called her good girl and gave her extra pieces of meat and mango. In the school, even parents pointed and said, "Be like Amora." Each small praise was like rain on dry ground. And deep inside her, a dream was growing, a dream bigger than the village, bigger than Mama Simi's house. A dream that one day, she would be free. Days turned into months. Months turned into years. Amora was now 13 years old. Her back was straighter. Her eyes were sharper. Her smile, though small, carried a quiet fire. At school, she was a star without trying. She answered questions no one else could answer. She finished her work before others had even begun. She helped the younger children learn their letters and numbers. The teachers adored her. One day, during a spelling competition at the village square, Amora stood in front of the whole community. Her heart hammered against her chest like a drum. Sweat trickled down her back. She could see Mama Simi frowning in the crowd, arms crossed. Lola and Tolu whispered and giggled, hoping she would fail. The chief's son, Uche, stood beside her, ready to spell too. The competition began. Words flew like arrows, complicated, twisting words that made many children stumble and fall out of the game. One by one, they sat down in shame. But Amora stood tall. She spelled every word correctly, even the ones she had never heard before. She listened with her heart. She spoke with courage. In the end, it was just her and Uche left. The final word was given. Courage. Uche bit his lip, stammered, and misspelled it. The crowd held its breath. Amora closed her eyes for a second. She remembered Mama Ijioma's soft voice, the one she heard only in dreams now. "My little Amora, you will bring light where there is darkness." Amora opened her eyes. She spelled the word perfectly. Courage. The crowd erupted in cheers. Children danced. Women clapped. Men lifted their caps and shouted, "Amora! Amora!" A wide smile broke across Amora's face. For the first time, the light she had carried inside was seen by everyone, not just by Simi, not just by old Mama Nkechi, but by the whole village. The headmaster of her school, Mr. Is, walked onto the stage and handed her a big blue envelope. Inside it was something more precious than gold. A scholarship form. It said, "Full education scholarship for the brightest student of Umuaka. To attend the big city school." Amora's hands trembled as she held the paper. She looked into the crowd. Papa Obi's eyes were wet with tears. Even Mama Simi, for the first time, looked speechless. Her face was a strange mixture of pride, fear, and something Amora could not understand yet, shame. Tolu and Lola stood frozen, their mouths slightly open. Amora clutched the envelope to her chest. She realized something at that moment. Her life was about to change. There was a door in the dark. And now, it was open. After the spelling competition, the village buzzed with excitement. Amora is going to the city. She will become a big woman one day. She will make us proud. Everywhere Amora walked, people smiled at her. Mothers patted her head. Old men gave her kola nuts and blessings. But not everyone was happy. At home, the air grew thick and heavy. Mama Simi's smiles became tighter, like cloth pulled too hard. Lola and Tolu stopped teasing Amora. Now, they barely looked at her. Something was brewing, something dark. One night, when the crickets sang and the moon hid behind clouds, Mama Simi sat with Lola and Tolu in the kitchen. "She will forget us," Mama Simi hissed. "She will become rich and laugh at us." Lola frowned. "She thinks she's better than us already." Tolu kicked a stone on the ground. "We should have been the ones going to the city," he muttered. Mama Simi's eyes gleamed in the dim firelight. "She must not go," she whispered. The next morning, Mama Simi's plan began. When Amora returned from the school with her scholarship forms needing a parent's signature, Mama Simi snatched them from her hand. What is this rubbish? She said loudly. You want to run away and leave your family behind? No, Mama, Amora started. But Mama Simi tore the forms into pieces right in front of her eyes. Rip. 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 Amora gasped. Her dream, her future, fluttered to the ground like broken wings. You will stay here and work for your family. Mama Simi shouted. Papa Obi came running in. What is going on? He asked, his voice trembling. She wants to abandon us. Mama Simi cried, tears springing into her eyes, false, heavy tears. She wants to become big and forget the people who raised her. Papa Obi's face fell. He looked at Amora, then at Mama Simi. He opened his mouth to speak but closed it again. Fear gripped his heart. He had lost so many battles already. He did not know how to fight anymore. Amora stood there, frozen. Her heart broke into 1,000 pieces. But deep inside, something whispered. This is not the end. This is just a test. Don't give up. That night, Amora sat by her small window, staring at the stars. Simi came and sat beside her quietly. I saw what Mama did, Simi whispered, tears in her voice. I'm sorry. Amora said nothing. Simi pressed something into Amora's hand, a small folded paper. When Amora opened it, she saw another copy of the scholarship forms. Simi had secretly gotten another one from the school the day before. I will help you fill it, Simi said. And tomorrow, we will take it to Mr. East together before Mama Simi wakes up. For the first time that day, Amora smiled. Not a big smile. Not a proud smile. But a small, strong smile, like a seed pushing through hard ground. No matter how many thorns Mama Simi planted, Amora's dream would grow. It had already taken root. And nothing could stop it now. Before the first rooster crowed, the village of Umuaka was wrapped in thick darkness. The air was cool and heavy with silence. The stars blinked sleepily in the sky. Inside the small mud house, Amora quietly rolled up her tin mat. Simi tiptoed to the door, her slippers in her hands. They didn't dare make a sound. Mama Simi was a light sleeper, and one creak could wake her. Amora clutched the new scholarship form close to her chest. The ink was dry. Her name was neatly written. All it needed now was Mr. Isa's final stamp. Amora's heart beat so loudly she feared it would wake the whole house. Simi pushed the door open slowly. Creak. They both froze. Amora looked over her shoulder. In the faint light, she could see Mama Simi's figure lying under the wrapper, not moving. A soft snore floated through the room. They were safe. Without waiting another second, the two girls slipped out into the night. They ran barefoot across the sandy paths. The ground was cold against their feet. Bushes scratched their legs. Dogs barked far away. But nothing could stop them. They reached the school just as the first fingers of dawn touched the sky. Mr. Is, the headmaster, was already there, sweeping the dusty courtyard with a tired broom. He looked up in surprise when he saw them. Amora. Simi. What are you doing here so early? Amora ran to him, breathing hard. She knelt quickly and stretched the form out to him. Please, sir, she gasped. Please help me. Before they stop me again. Mr. Is took the paper gently. He read it carefully. He looked at Amora's pleading eyes. He looked at Simi's worried face. He understood without needing many words. You are a brave girl, he said softly. You deserve this chance. With a firm hand, he pulled out his big blue stamp from his office. He pressed it down hard on the paper. Thud. The stamp ink spread across the paper like a promise. Approved. Amora's eyes filled with tears. This time, they were not tears of pain or sadness. They were tears of hope. Go home now, Mr. Is said kindly. I will handle the rest. Your scholarship is safe. Amora and Simi hugged each other tightly, shaking with joy. They had done it. They had crossed the river of fear and doubt. And on the other side, a new life was waiting. As they walked back home, the sun rose higher, painting the village gold and red. A new day had truly begun, not just for the world, but for Amora's life. And deep inside her heart, a voice whispered again. You are meant for more. Don't ever forget. The sun was high by the time Amora and Simi returned home. Mama Simi was awake and waiting. The moment they stepped through the door, her eyes narrowed like a hawk spotting a rabbit. Where have you two been? She demanded, her voice sharp. Amora swallowed hard. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Simi opened her mouth to speak, but Mama Simi raised her hand. Don't lie to me, she screamed. You think I don't know? You went to the school again, didn't you? Amora stood tall. For the first time, she didn't lower her eyes. She didn't twist her hands nervously. She simply said, yes. Mama Simi's face twisted in rage. You ungrateful thing, she shouted. You want to shame me? You want to show the whole village I cannot control my own house. She grabbed a broom and rushed toward Amora. Simi jumped in front of her. No, Mama, please. Simi cried. It's not Amora's fault. I helped her. Mama Simi pushed Simi aside roughly. But before she could reach Amora, a strong voice roared from the doorway. Enough. Everyone turned. It was Papa Obi. For once, his voice was strong, his eyes full of fire. Enough, Simi, he shouted. Enough, Mama Simi. Let the girl go. Mama Simi froze, shocked. Papa Obi stepped forward. You have tormented her for too long, he said, breathing hard. You wanted to keep her small so you could feel big. But no more. The neighbors had gathered outside, drawn by the noise. Old Mama Nkechi was there, arms crossed. Even Mr. E stood in the crowd, watching. Everyone sees now, Papa Obi said, his voice steady. You can no longer hide. Mama Simi looked around and saw the watching eyes. She saw the judging faces. Shame crawled up her neck and burned her cheeks. For once, she had no sweet words to cover her wickedness. No smiles to hide behind. She dropped the broom with a heavy thud. Tolu and Lola stood frozen, not daring to move. Amora felt tears prick her eyes, but this time, she held them back. She was not a victim today. She was a victor. Papa Obi turned to Amora. Go, my daughter, he said gently. Go and become the woman you are meant to be. Amora nodded. She turned and walked away, her head high, her step steady. She didn't look back. Not when Mama Simi sank into a chair, weeping with guilt. Not when Lola and Tolu lowered their heads in shame. Not even when Papa Obi wiped tears from his tired eyes. For the first time in her life, Amora was free. The last chain had broken. And the whole world was waiting. The city was nothing like Umuaka. It was bigger than Amora had ever imagined. Buildings stood tall like proud giants. Cars zoomed past with loud honks. Bright lights blinked and flashed even at night. The air smelled different, like smoke, food, and dreams all mixed together. Amora stood at the bus station, clutching her small bag tightly. Inside it were only 2 dresses, a pair of sandals, and a picture of Mama Ijeoma she kept hidden from everyone. Mr. Is had arranged everything. The city school, called Sunrise Academy, had sent a kind woman named Madam Grace to pick her up. Madam Grace smiled warmly as she helped Amora into a small blue car. Welcome to your new home, my dear, she said. Amora looked out of the window as they drove. Tall fences. Endless streets. Children in neat uniforms walking to schools. Everything moved so fast. She felt small, like a leaf in a mighty river. But deep inside her, a small voice whispered. You are not here by accident. You belong here. When they reached Sunrise Academy, Amora's mouth fell open. The school was bigger than 5 Umuaka markets put together. Tall white buildings. Green fields stretching like carpets. Children laughing and running, wearing uniforms as neat as Sunday clothes. Madam Grace led her to the principal's office. The principal, a tall woman named Mrs. Bello, shook Amora's hand. "Your teachers speak highly of you," Mrs. Bello said kindly. "We expect great things." Amora nodded, trying to swallow the lump in her throat. She was given a small room with 2 other girls, Ada and Ngozi. Ada was talkative and funny. Ngozi was quiet but kind. At first, Amora felt like a fish pulled from water. She didn't know how to use the big showers. She didn't understand some of the fast English the other students spoke. Sometimes, she sat alone by the window at night, missing Simi, missing Papa Obi, even missing the dusty roads of Umweka. But she did not cry. She reminded herself. You are planting your future. Grow strong. Grow tall. Every morning, she rose early. She studied harder than anyone. She listened carefully in every class. Some students laughed at her worn-out sandals. Some whispered behind her back about her village accent. But Amora held her head high. Because she knew. It's not where you come from that matters. It's where you're going. And Amora, the girl no one had wanted, the girl who almost had no chance, was going somewhere great. Somewhere her enemies would one day bow their heads in shame. And somewhere her true family, Simi, Papa Obi, even old Mama Nkechi, would lift their hands in pride. Weeks turned into months at Sunrise Academy. Amora grew stronger, wiser, and braver. But not everyone wanted her to shine. One afternoon, during the break, Amora sat under the mango tree, reading her book quietly. A group of rich girls from the city, led by a tall, proud girl named Chisholm, walked past her. They wore sparkling shoes and carried fancy bags. They stopped when they saw Amora. Chisholm smirked. "Look at her," she said loudly so everyone could hear. "Bush girl reading big books. Who does she think she is?" The other girls giggled. Amora's ears burned with shame. She closed her book slowly and stood up. She looked Chisholm straight in the eye. "I may come from a small village," Amora said calmly, "but dreams are bigger than shoes." The laughter stopped. Chisholm's face turned red. Amora picked up her book and walked away, her back straight, her head high. From that day, Chisholm and her friends made it their mission to make life hard for her. They hid her school shoes. They switched her textbooks. They whispered behind her back. But Amora didn't break. She remembered Mama Ijioma's voice. No matter how strong the storm, the tree with deep roots does not fall. So she stood her ground. She studied harder. She prayed longer. She dreamed bigger. And slowly, something surprising happened. One day, in science class, the teacher announced a big project, a team competition. The best team would win a trip to a science fair in the next city. Everyone buzzed with excitement. When it was time to pick teams, no one wanted Amora at first. But the teacher, Mr. Ajayi, smiled kindly and said, "Amora, you will lead Group 3. Chisholm and 2 other girls, to their horror, were placed in Amora's group. At first, they refused to listen to her ideas. But as the days passed, they began to see something they hadn't noticed before. Amora was brilliant. She solved problems faster than anyone. She explained difficult parts with simple words. She even helped Chisholm understand topics she had failed before. Slowly, Chisholm's coldness melted. One evening, as they worked late in the library, Chisholm whispered, "Thank you, Amora." Amora just smiled and kept walking. The project day came. When it was time to present, Amora spoke with courage and wisdom. Their model, a water purifying machine made from simple village materials, amazed everyone. When the judges announced the winners, Group 3 stood tall. They had won. The crowd cheered. Even the headmistress, Mrs. Bello, clapped proudly. And in the crowd, Chisholm stood beside Amora, clapping the loudest. From that day on, the teasing stopped. Respect grew where mockery once lived. And Amora. She kept walking forward, slowly, steadily, toward her destiny. Because a true fire, once lit, cannot be hidden. It must shine. It had been 10 long years since Amora had left Umuaka. Now, as a black car rode into the dusty village square, the whole place buzzed like a beehive. Children ran after the car, shouting, "She's back! She's back!" Old women shaded their eyes with their hands. Men dropped their calabashes of palm wine. Everybody wanted to catch a glimpse. Amora stepped out of the car. She wore a simple dress, yet it spoke of class and grace. Her shoes were soft leather. A small gold necklace gleamed on her neck. But it was not the clothes that made everyone stare. It was the power and peace she carried with her. The girl who once hid behind walls was now a woman who stood like a queen. Word spread quickly. "Mama Simi. Come out. Your daughter has returned." At the house, Mama Simi's hands shook as she stirred the pot of watery soup. Tolu and Lola peeped through the window, fear and shame burning their faces. Simi, now a young woman with kind eyes, ran to the gate. "Amora," she cried. They hugged tightly, laughing and crying at the same time. Papa Obi came out slowly, walking with a cane now. His eyes filled with tears as he saw his daughter, not the small girl he had watched leave, but a strong, shining woman. "Papa," Amora whispered, falling to her knees respectfully. He pulled her up and hugged her hard, the way he wished he had years ago. Mama Simi came out, wiping her hands on her wrapper nervously. She forced a smile. "Amora, my daughter. You have done well for yourself," she said loudly, so the neighbors would hear. Amora looked at her calmly. She could see the guilt in Mama Simi's eyes. The shame she tried to hide. Tolu and Lola shuffled behind her, their heads bowed low. Amora reached into her car and brought out 3 large gift bags. She handed one to Tolu, one to Lola, and one to Mama Simi. Inside each bag were beautiful clothes, fine shoes, and envelopes filled with money. The very things they had once mocked her for not having. The very things they had believed she would never touch. Mama Simi's hands shook as she opened the envelope and saw the thick bundles of cash. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Tolu and Lola could not even look Amora in the eyes. They mumbled, "Thank you," their voices filled with shame. Amora smiled softly. "I did not bring this because of what you did to me," she said gently, her voice firm. "I brought them because of what I have become. I am no longer a prisoner of the past. I am free." The neighbors who had gathered clapped quietly, nodding. Amora turned and knelt again before Papa Obi. "And you, Papa? I owe you forgiveness, too. You were weak, but you were still my father." Papa Obi wept openly. "I am sorry, Amora," he whispered. She hugged him tightly. And in that hug, the chains of old pain broke completely. Simi squeezed Amora's hand. "You did it," she whispered. Amora smiled and looked up at the wide blue sky. "I did it," she whispered back. From that day, Amora helped rebuild Papa Obi's house. She sent Simi to university. She even found small jobs for Tolu and Lola in the city. Mama Simi never lifted her eyes to Amora's face again without feeling the heavy stone of guilt inside her. But Amora never robbed her success in their faces. She simply lived her life like a river, flowing, giving, unstoppable. The little girl who had once been treated like a burden had become a blessing they could never deny. And her story, the story of the girl who returned differently, would be told for generations. In Umueka, they now say, "Do not look down on the child you mistreat today. Tomorrow, they may become the wings you need to fly."